On today's show, Dereck Lively will be the second best player in his draft class. It's a hill I'm going to die on, and we've got more of those on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
You are Locked On Mavs.
Great, Rusty.
Your daily Dallas Mavericks podcast.
No one's dying.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Amazing.
Your team every day.
Still can't even help it.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Thanks for being part of the show, making Locked On Mavs your first listen today. Well, the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day on any podcast platform. Leave a 5-star review, like the video on YouTube, comment anything below. Let us know, which hill would you die on right now? What's a take or a hill that you're willing to die on? Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. And joining me from the great Slightly Biased YouTube channel, the knower of 10,000 things. What you got for me, Slightly Biased?
10,000? I feel like I'm the forgetter of 10,000 things.
In the Avatar show, there's a character, Wan Shi-tan. He is a spirit over a library, and he goes, "I am Wan Shi-tan, he who knows 10,000 things." And I'm like, that's not that many things.
I was just about to say, I don't think 10,000 is that much.
No,
in the grand scheme of things.
Number never strikes me as like, you think about all the different things you know, like I know what a cup is. Okay, that's one thing.
Yeah.
You know, like,
I think I know, let's just say I know pretty much every active NBA player. That's like 250 right there, just off the board.
450.
Oh, 450 just off the board.
250. He just cut 200 players out of the NBA.
Realistically, it's probably closer to 300 players.
Every NBA player ever. That's like 4,000 or something, right?
Yeah. Well, there you go. That's 40% of the way there.
To get to 10,000 things. Today, we're talking about some more hills we would die on in the NBA. I've got a couple more NBA ones. I want to talk about the Kings, and did the Kings get better? We've got a couple more. Slightly's got a hot one about the Lakers. The Lakers that we'll get into a little bit that I'm excited to talk about. We got a couple of Mavs ones too we'll talk about Brunson briefly. But let's start with this one. Dereck Lively will be the second best player from his draft class. This is a hill I'm going to die on because you start to go through it and he's not catching Wemby. I would love to say he'd be the best player in this draft class. There's just no chance. I'm sorry.
No.
There's no chance he'll catch Victor Wembanyama. So you take that one off the board. You start to go through the rest of the players that he's going to go up against. And you're like, all right, Scoot Henderson. Okay, maybe Scoot takes a leap. Maybe he does that, and maybe we feel real good about him, but he did not look that great his first year. The Thompson twins, maybe they could take a leap. Bilal Coulibaly, maybe he has some kind of leap. Casey Wallace just played in the playoffs. Jaime Jaquez. Brandon Podziemski was starting on a playoffs like level team. Cam Whitmore could take a leap. He dropped in that draft. You got Gigi Jackson down below. Keontae George maybe for the Jazz. It's really just Lively and Brandon Miller, right? It's between those two players where you go, all right, who is the better player out of those two? Who would you rather have out of those two? And for me, I'm sticking with D-Live, and I'm going to die on the hill that I think he'll be the second best player out of this draft class.
Well, this is an interesting one because he'll never have the stats of a Brandon Miller or probably even like a Scoot once Scoot develops a little bit more, or even like a Keontae George if he's just a starting point guard for the next 5 or 6 years or whatever the case may be. But impact wise, I mean, it's definitely possible. I don't know if I'd be willing to die on that hill just yet because I've grown very, very fond of the Thompson twins and they've got a long ways to go.
The Thompson twins, really?
Yeah, I've watched some stuff on them recently, and
let me tell you something. I've played basketball with you. You can shoot better than both of them.
Yeah, and I mean, I've looked at it, and the list of rookies who have shot as poorly as them is very, very poor. Like I think only one guy made the All-Star game out of all of them, but they do have this very rare.
They've got a lot.
I mean, just freakish athleticism, and they are incredible defensively. So they could get there. I would rather have Dereck Lively on the Mavericks than them right now, easily. But I don't even think that's that crazy of a take, actually.
I'm also putting into perspective that Dereck Lively was a one-year college player that didn't really even start that much, came into the NBA, played 55 games for the Mavs last year, dealt with some injuries last year, went through a transition where they brought in a replacement with Gafford, kind of, like went through all these different things. Can I bring up that the stuff with his mom passed away. He went through a family tragedy and all that last year and all that. And he fought through all of it and proved to be a 16-game player. We don't know that about any of the other players on this list, that they can be a 16-game player, meaning a player that can play you all the way into the finals and play in a finals series and play like significant minutes and give you impact. I'll take that over 17 points a game from Brandon Miller or a nice outlet pass or a nice like dunk from the Thompson twins, because we know that about Dereck Lively, and we have the benefit of knowing that information about Lively, but that's why I'm putting it down and I'm saying, all right, I'm feeling good about Lively. I think he'll take another step forward. He was supposed to be a developmental guy, and so maybe he develops, like if he develops a three-point shot, like it's over for this list.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it a bunch. We really have to rethink the ceiling of Dereck Lively. I don't think we know what it is at all currently. And if it does develop more, yeah, I mean, like you said, you just hope that guys are 16 games players. You don't really know until you see it. And, I mean, it's hard to imagine a better scenario for a rookie center like Dereck Lively than the Dallas Mavericks, just like a perfect landing spot for him. But, I mean, he was so good in the playoffs, and then you just assume that he's going to get better. He got better all throughout the season.
Yes.
And even if he doesn't develop the three, there's still so many other things that he can develop that makes him a much better player and a perennial all-star that, yeah, I could see it.
I'm feeling good about it.
Brandon Miller was pretty damn good.
He was pretty good last year. Also on a terrible Hornets team without LaMelo for a lot of the time.
7 seed this year. Maybe that's the hill I'll die on.
The Hornets will be a 7 seed?
I die on it every year. I'm still fighting. I mean, like that Japanese soldier meme. That Japanese soldier meme.
If you don't, who will? Slightly, who will? Who will die on that hill?
Not even Hornets fans. I'm out there by myself.
Is there a Thompson twin of Brandon Miller? Is there anyone else from that list, or you look at who's like his biggest competition for second best?
GG Jackson.
GG Jackson's good. He just broke his foot, but yeah, he's
broke his foot. Super sad, but him. I honestly,
Casey Wallace.
I don't want Scoot's Casey Wallace. Sure, I don't want Scoot's horrendous rookie year, which he was much better at the end, but to distract how hyped of a prospect he was. So he could turn it around, but his back's up against the wall. Bilal Coulibaly, I mean, he's got the tools.
Yeah,
he's got a long ways to go though. But yeah, I mean, you just look at. It's crazy that Lively was a second-team all-rookie guy, because here we are talking about him being the second best player in his draft. But
Scoot Henderson shot 31% from 3 to 10 feet from the basket last year.
Yeah, it was tough for him. I mean, it was not what you want to see.
That is a brutal mark.
What about? I mean, I like Keontae George, but I don't know if he's. I used to be such a big Kobe Buffkin guy, but I don't know if I can get there anymore.
You hear that, Kobe Buffkin? He's got faith in the Hornets, but not in you.
I could get there again, Kobe. Hey, DeJounte Murray's gone. It's Kobe Buffkin's time.
Probably. He's going to get some opportunity. So that's the hill I'm going to die on. Dereck Lively is going to be the second best player from his draft class. Let me know in the comment section who you think his biggest competition is. A hill that you're willing to die on is about Jalen Brunson, who recently came out with a podcast with Mark Cuban. What's the hill you're willing to die on for the Mavs?
And that's the only reason I even want to discuss this. I'm so beyond done talking about the Jalen Brunson thing. I've been done with it for a year. But my take is that every party ended up in a better situation because of it. And obviously, I tweeted that out, and people responded to me like, "Oh, well, the Mavericks lost an asset for nothing," and that is true. But ultimately, somebody said this. And it kind of made me thinking, if Brunson did sign an extension or was with the Mavericks, are we 1,000% convinced that he's not traded for Kyrie Irving?
And with the first.
About it. Yeah, I don't know about with the first, but it made me think about it, because I was man.
But I think one of the reasons why he didn't sign was because the Mavericks were trying to trade him that whole year and trying to trade him that whole during the season, and so that's why they didn't sign the extension, which is really the reason why he isn't with the Mavericks. My hill that I was going to die on that was Brunson related was he was always going to leave for the Knicks. He just always was like that. The writing was on the wall. You kind of learned that from that podcast. He talked about how, as soon as my dad got hired for the Knicks, that was an opportunity that I would be stupid not to think about. It's like, okay, well, that's
oh yeah,
that's player speak for. All right, well, I'm definitely going to go there. And then he also mentioned that the Mavs never heard another offer from the Mavericks because his agent didn't give him any more offers, didn't give the Mavericks another chance to do it because there's reasons there with the CAA connection with Leon Rose in the front office of the Knicks and all that. And so, yeah, I think he was always going to leave the Knicks, but I agree with you that they're better off. It turned out better off. Yes, it's bad asset management to just lose him. It's the same thing we just crushed the Clippers for, losing Paul George kind of deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the Jalen Brunson one if you haven't seen it, go listen to the Jalen Brunson was the Roommates podcast with Josh Hart. He had Mark Cuban on, and it's a tough listen. It was as awkward as could be. Those two basically explaining each side of it. They really didn't share too much that we didn't know already. But yeah, it's interesting just to hear that context and to hear people talk about it like that. Coming up, hills that will die on in the NBA. To me, the Kings got more talented, but not better. I'll tell you why. Coming up.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbook has all kinds of props and odds and things that you can use to get in on the action and talk about sports. You've heard us talk about FanDuel. It's America's #1 sports book. We'll have something different for you today. Now, through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5. Just take $5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Bet it on anything. And you get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. All you need is a Google account, current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. Just visit America's #1 sportsbook. And while you're there, go check out FanDuel. We talked about this yesterday, that the Mavs line moved from 50.5 wins over under to 49.5 wins. So if you think the Mavericks are a 50-win team, bet that over. Put that $5 on that, and you'll get some money out of that. So go check it out. See what's available for you on FanDuel, and go check it out. It's FanDuel.com.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, listening every day. For your second listen today, go check out the Locked On NBA podcast. I'm there on Thursdays, so go check out. I think this is the last episode of me and Pat, the designer, on Locked On NBA, which hurts my heart greatly. So go check out that. Wherever you're listening, watching this, go check out Locked On NBA with me and Pat on Thursdays. And go listen to Locked On NBA, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Slightly, we're doing hills that will die on. Talk about some Mavs ones with Dereck Lively, with Jalen Brunson. My NBA hill that I'm going to die on. I think the Sacramento Kings got more talented, but not better. First of all, do you believe that a statement like that could be true?
Yes.
That you can get more talented, but not better?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, fit matters in the NBA, so I definitely think it's possible.
I think fit absolutely matters, and I don't get the fit here. Their offense took a step back last season. They got 3 points per 100 possessions worse than they did the year before. 40% of their shots were from three. They're third in the NBA. They take a ton of threes, and they like to take a ton of threes. That's where their offense came from. DeRozan, only 3% of his shots are from three. And so you think, well, they don't need more threes. They've already got this. But here's where it gets really bad for them. A stat was going around from Sport Radar recently. It's where the average defender was standing when a shot was taken, like how much an offense stretches out a defense. And the Kings had some of the worst spacing in that. They were below average in that stats. They have bad spacing. And now they bring in DeRozan. So now you're going to play DeRozan and Sabonis together a bunch. Like, you're going back into the mid 2000s spacing. Like, I've been watching, I just did a project recently where I watched like the 2004 NBA finals. And you're just watching dudes like Shaq and Karl Malone are standing like hip to hip underneath the basket. And you're going, what is happening right here? Like, can we just step out? Karl Malone steps out to 25 feet to stretch the floor, not even a 3 or 20 feet, 18 feet. And nobody's out there guarding him. That's what's going to happen with this Kings team.
Yeah, I mean, they needed another creator and another scorer, but it does they did get that, but it does definitely make, I mean, the fit is just kind of a little bit wonky. I do think DeRozan's talented enough as a creator and a playmaker that teams just aren't going to like leave him by himself, right? So even if he is standing on the 3-point line, you're going to have a defender defending him. But yeah, I mean, this is one of those that we'll have to see how it plays out. I'm not convinced that they're like way better than they were a year ago. It's still an exciting sighting. Like, I feel bad anytime I'm like questionable about it, because Kings fans are so excited that a player like DeMar decided to go to Sacramento.
That's fine.
So,
that's fine. They can be excited about that. I can also not. I don't have to believe in it just because they're excited. A lot of things people are excited about that I don't believe in.
As a fan of a Western Conference, championship hopeful, it doesn't really scare me much.
People were, people are excited for a lot of things that I'm not really into.
Yeah.
The Kings were 46-36 last year, 10 games over 500. They were already like a pretty good team. Their defense actually got kind of average towards the last.
Yeah.
They ended 18th on defense. They weren't terrible on defense like they had been. I don't know that DeMar DeRozan helps them in that area either. And now all of a sudden, this starting lineup that they probably are going to have, Sabonis, Keegan Murray, DeRozan, Monk, and Fox, or even it's Herter and Fox, that defense is going to be tough.
No, that's not going to be very good. It's a lot on Keegan Murray's plate, and really Fox's plate as well, which I don't know if that's really what you want to get into. But you say it out loud. I mean, that's a pretty fun offensive team, though. Now
Definitely.
that I think about it a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, I guess another way this has been explained to me, where I've been like, okay, I guess that kind of makes sense. Is he better than Harrison Barnes?
Yes.
So it is like, okay, I see it there. But are we talking how many wins did you say they had last year? 46?
46 and 36.
Are they jumping up to 50 plus? Probably not. Could they get up to 48? Yeah, maybe.
The other thing is DeRozan is supposed to come in and he's going to help them in the clutch a ton and all that. Didn't they already have the clutch player of the year last year? So
yeah. I just, to the life of me to this day, DeMar just is, ideally, you would think about him, this great playoff guy. And it just doesn't translate. It's one of the more bizarre things in the league. That's the other part of this is that even if they're better in the regular season, all the numbers point to all that. This is going to be my big point. DeRozan has not been a playoff riser his whole career and has not really taken that step forward because of the spacing and because of the 3-point shot. He doesn't take threes, and that limits you in the spacing, and everything gets squeezed in the playoffs. And I think all these issues we're talking about in the regular season, I think they'll be able to get away with it. Could I see them being a 53-win team? Sure. Yeah. Okay, they take a step forward. Come playoff time, it's going to be easier to game plan against this team. Okay, here's a Kings related hill I'll die on. If the Kings do take a step and they are much better and they are this team that's whoa, the Kings, it won't really be because of DeMar. It'll be because Keegan Murray took a pretty sizable step forward and becomes a 20-plus point scorer who's genuinely one of the better defensive forwards in the league. That would be the step.
But now you have DeRozan taking the ball away from him.
Yeah.
Is he going to get 13 shots a game like he did last year? Maybe. And if Monk, I don't know. They're an interesting team. I mean, I think if you're a Kings fan right now, just being in the convo at all and just, being a good team that is in playoff contention is fun and exciting considering your history. I don't really think there's a ceiling to speak of with the Kings in terms of contending. But I don't know how many Kings fans are really arguing that, though. No, they're not. But to me, just they got more talented, but I don't think that they got better. I think that they're going to deal with some of the same issues where they get knocked out in a playoffs in the first round, or they get knocked out in a play-in or something like that. So that's my take on the Kings. I'm sticking to it. Coming up, Slightly's got a great hill he's going to die on about the Lakers, and I'm ready to hear it coming up.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here. Shut it down! Let's go home!
All right, Slightly. We're talking about hills that will die on in the NBA. We talked about a couple of Mavs ones. I talked about the Kings. I think they got more talented, but not better. Give me another NBA hill that you're willing to die on right now.
So this is my sort of departure towards more selling out and going the first take route, which some people have assumed that I'll do at some point. And it might be here. Some people call me big market bias. Some people say I'm a LeBron, the communist fan. Slightly big market. This is a thing I've been thinking about. Maybe it's
Can I take one second? How was it you that said Le Communist before Isaac Harris for all those years on this? As big of a LeBron hater as he is.
LaMau.
Jesus.
I love LeBron. People give me stuff for being a LeBron defender. I'm like, okay. You think you're hurting my feelings? I am a LeBron defender.
Slightly and I are working on this project of the 2015 finals, and he started with a team with Iman Shumpert, Timothy Mozgov, and No one else.
It's insane watching the 2015 because Kevin Love was hurt, so they didn't have a shooting, and it was Tristan Thompson and Mozgov, and there was 5 people in the paint at any given moment, and LeBron was just barreling into it. It didn't matter.
And he's still keeping it close.
Yeah, but this is a take that I don't even know if I believe full-heartedly, but I've been thinking about it, and it might just be peak boredom. I'm ready for the NBA to start. My brain's just working. I kind of think the Lakers have a better chance at coming out of the West this year than the Denver Nuggets.
What?
And it's partially has to do with I'm looking at the Lakers team and I'm like, you know what? Are they like as bad as people are saying that they are? And then I look at the Nuggets and I'm like, is this a recipe for disaster? Maybe like could this go really wrong?
What's the case for the Nuggets going wrong? Like that wrong? Because the Lakers were 47 wins last year. Nuggets were 57. Yeah. How do they bridge that gap?
Well, I'm not necessarily talking about regular season. I'm talking like playoff.
Sure.
Who could go further? My main thing with the Nuggets that scares me, obviously the KCP stuff, is that becoming a little overblown, maybe a tiny bit. I do think it's going to hurt them, but the Jamal Murray stuff is really concerning me. I mean, it's scaring me. He was hurt for, it felt like the back half of the season last year, never really felt healthy at all, and really looked bad in the Olympics. Like, I cannot get that out of my head to the point where I'm going to have to see him on the basketball court for the span of like 1 or 2 months looking healthy before I'm like, okay, we're good with the Jamal Murray stuff. We were all overreacting there because that's how bad it looked. So that would be my concern for them. And obviously, you know, they still have Jokic. So if you have Jokic, it feels like you're a guaranteed, you know, 5th seed, the very worst, and you know, an interesting team. But for the Lakers, am I just thinking about the Olympics too much? Because you leave the Olympics, it's terrified about Jamal Murray, and then you look at LeBron and AD, it's like, oh my God, these guys are still top 10 players in the sport currently. It's crazy.
I don't think I can follow you on this one. I still think the Nuggets the starting five will be the best.
Let me keep going. Anthony Davis, NBA University, just did a best defender in the NBA poll. Anthony Davis finished second best defender in the sport. And that poll might have been rigged by Miami Heat fans because Bam won. And I love Bam Adebayo. And I think we picked him in our little bracket that we did. But they have LeBron, AD, who did just have 2 of the healthier seasons of the last 5 to 10 years for them. So you have to factor that into the equation. But if those 2 are healthy, that's as good of a duo as you'll get in the NBA, assuming Father Time doesn't strike LeBron. Plus, Jared Vanderbilt's back. Does that move you at all?
How could LeBron be struck by Father Time when he is now Father Time in the NBA, fathering a teammate?
Does Gabe Vincent being healthy move you in the slightest?
This is how much it moves me. Ready?
Yeah. He just scooted over a little tiny bit. Hey, but the NBA is a game of inches, man. So that might go a long way.
Not even an inch. Didn't move me an inch.
Does Jalen Hood-Schifino developing?
No, it's not even Jalen Hood-Schifino.
But also, I was thinking about this too in the context of Lakers. In the context of Lakers, I was thinking about this. I feel like they will be motivated to make a move, and they do now have. We've joked about the Lakers trade assets for a while. They do now have an interesting trade package. They can get like 3 first-round picks. You know, they have some young guys that are interesting and matchable contracts that are easily movable. So if they make a move at the deadline for a disgruntled star, hey now.
Motivated to make a move. They're the only team that didn't make a single move in the offseason.
Because they're waiting for the trade deadline. How does no one see this?
I've heard this before. Oh, waiting for the Mavs have done this for years. We were like, 2019, they didn't do anything. Okay, they're waiting for the trade deadline.
Was that the trade deadline they got JJ Redick?
Remember the trade deadline where they got Nerlens Noel?
Yeah, that was fun for a tiny bit.
I was so excited for him.
The hot dog saga.
I was there.
Man, what could have been? Actually, genuinely think about it. If he took that contract, what actually could have been?
They probably would have got Wemby.
Probably. There's probably some butterfly effect thing where they're 3-time repeating champions.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, the Lakers having a better chance than the Nuggets. Whew, that
Christian Wood back. Hello?
I banned myself from talking about Christian Wood on the show.
Dalton Connect.
I spent a whole year talking about Christian Wood.
All right. Think about it. A lot of times it's a vibes-based thing.
You said Bronny. Dalton Connect.
Bronny, we're about in March. Bronny's really kind of going off in the G League.
Will LeBron be more motivated to win an NBA title with his son? First to play with your son, first to play on the same team as your son, then to win a title with your son on the same team. That's the next thing.
It's going to be really annoying when anytime they do anything, it's the first. It's like, we know they were the first father-son duo. So you don't need to tell us anything they do is the first. Like, it's already been established.
The selective stats, the first father-son duo to ever combine for like 33 points. And
the
first father-son duo to ever put up 30, 35 and 5. No, you know what's gonna really blow up the internet? The first time they combined for a 27, 7 and 7.
Oh, that'll be funny. I mean, the first lob. Well, the first lob will be a cool moment.
That will break the internet.
The question is, what game is it? Is it? That's actually one of the things I'm worried about. The Lakers are they forcing that game one?
Game one? Oh my! Game one would be
opening night TNT.
Do they open at home?
Season.
Probably.
They play the Warriors, right? Isn't that the first night of the season?
Timberwolves the first game of their regular season, the 22nd. I think that is the first game of the season because it's 22nd.
Yeah, they play the opening night.
Timberwolves, Suns, Kings, first 3 games at home.
Hey, 3-0, and we're really talking. 3-0, and we are cooking.
Against that slate, I would be talking if they were 3-0 against them. All right, I got one more left. NBA hill I'm willing to die on. I recently saw a Damian Lillard tweet about this, and it made me think about it again. The NBA bubble was better basketball, and it was actually harder to win a title in the bubble.
I agree with you. I mean, I can't really speak on it because I wasn't there, and I'm not an NBA player, but it feels like you take travel out of the equation entirely. Everybody's in the same place. Everybody's sleeping in the same bed. There's no
distractions
going out. Right. It's just pure basketball. You would think
to get a bunch of tickets for people.
Yeah. I mean, you would think that is the pinnacle of the sport right there. Like that is basketball at its finest. And people, realistically, the Slightly's at it again. People only discredit it because LeBron and the Lakers won.
Yeah. Right. The same way the in-season tournament is like discredited. But Damian Lillard had this tweet that said, Brian is right. What I'm saying is it made it easier to play as well. We all have the same advantage. No travel, instant recovery options, no home and away crowd, no time change, more rest, which means it will be harder to win the championship. And I agree. I will go back to it. And I also think it was better basketball. We saw TJ Warren have a 50-point game in the bubble. Mm-hmm. Jamal Murray was going. Anthony Davis, the only time he's ever been able to hit threes in his career was in the bubble. We saw some crazy performances from NBA players. And I'd rather have the good shooting of guys like that because I think it was better basketball.
Yeah, I mean, it was just fun too because there was basketball on all day, even on weekdays. The bubble was fun basketball. The like memes are funny. That clip that goes around every now and then of the Lakers celebrating the bubble finals, and then somebody edited in the shoe squeaks. Just dead silence. It is funny, but
the virtual fan like thing in the background is always funny to me to look back on.
That was it. I was thinking about that a few days ago when it was like the 4-year anniversary of Luka hitting the game winner. And I wish they didn't do that. It was cool at the time, but they were so distinct. Like they were 10 seconds behind that it was really weird. If that happened now, that like I would start a campaign to get you to be one of those people that I'd want to be on there. I would for sure make my way on there. Somehow, some way. There you go, guys. Let us know what hill you're willing to die on for the NBA or for the Mavericks. If you missed yesterday's episode, we did some more of these as well, so go check out that. We talked about the NBA and the Mavericks as a whole. Tomorrow, I think I'm having Mike Curtis of the Dallas Morning News on for the first time to talk about some Mavs stuff and see what he thinks about the Mavs offseason. Guys, thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs. Thanks for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out. Boom.